So we're hitting on the voting rights. And
Was the Voting Rights Act, that is.
so tell me how you feel about the strike down what John Roberts did.
It was expected.
Hmm.
I expected since the beginning of the arguments.
Okay.
When John Robert, you have to look at John Roberts' history. When he was against the Voting Rights Act for 40 years. 40 years.
And this long term, you
This
think,
lo- and
wait,
that was his first long-term project. He is the if William Howard Taft, he is William Howard Taft and Roger Downey. If if William Howard Taft and Roger Downey would have had a baby, it would have been John Roberts.
you think it would have been John Roberts?
That's right.
The Sinister Six was at it again, right?
Especially my favorite, the one that disgraced Thurgood Marshall, Coon Clan Thomas.
Well, the name, we understand who he is, but we don't have to go that far.
I go that far because that's who he is.
No,
He's a traitor to he is a traitor to Black America and to America. He's an enemy.
I struggle, even talking about uh, Clarence Thomas. I really do, because I said he had that book out, Justice.
We're all equal. We're not equal. We were never equal to begin with. And what the Supreme Court, this ruling really did is that it is time that we stop fighting for, oh, we're looking for inclusion or equality and things like that. It just really shows up they're blocking access. First, you gotta have access before we can even begin to fight for equality, to be honest.
Well, personally, I think that the takedown was to make us realize, like, Democrats missed their opportunity.
And they missed their opportunity to take care of it in 2021. This is what happens when you don't have strong left wing leadership.
Okay, and what could they have done to help?
What they could have done is they could have gotten rid of the filibuster. They could have expanded the court from at least 9 to 13 justices. And they could have had term limits on the Supreme Court. We don't need no lifetime appointments to the Supreme Court. We need age limits and term limits of the Supreme Court.
I think in the Circuit Court they had 29, I think, justice, and Elie Massal had mentioned that uh, on one of his write-ups, and he was on Joy Reid's show. They had an excellent show because that's kind of like our Netflix now. Because we can't. It seems like if we go to the other side and listen to somebody that's not over there telling the truth or giving factual information, then that just
Or that's not corporate owned by David Ellison and his son Larry Ellison.
right. So what did Elie Massal say in Joy's segment?
What Elliot Massad said,
Massal,
Gasol, watch him.
yeah, he said what?
I don't want to really misquote what Ellie Gasol has to say, so I'm just going to leave that alone. But just listen to the whole thing what Ellie had to say. Listen to his own mouth because he's one of the best.
Yeah, he had been fighting for this for a long time.
He's been really fighting.
And I think he got some really strong, you know, strong points. And what I would say to all the Gen Z and
Millenniums is that this is our fight now. I mean, this fight is going to be much worse than my mother's generation, the Gen X and Boomer generation. It's going to be much worse, and let me tell you why this is much worse. In 2027, there's the humanoids, which is going to destroy entry-level jobs. And who's the first one that's going to be affected? Black and Latin and minorities.
but who's destroying the job now? The who brothers?
Who's destroying the jobs now are the tech bros. They're the ones that are destroying they're the ones that's stealing your jobs. The Peter Tills, the Jeff Bezos.
And we definitely don't want them to take charge of our country because they don't. I mean, people present it as they're supposed to be smart and
They're not
intelligent.
smart. They're not smart. They're not intelligent. They're just greedy.
Yeah,
And some people use their unique ability, for greed and hate for greed.
okay, but with the tech brothers, you know, Alito was up there pulling for him because that was one of his.
And then here's what Justice Alito just said in his majority opinion. And when you read Justice Alito in the majority opinion, it will make you even sick. We're not really getting rid of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. We're just updating it. That's not for your job to do. That's for Congress to do. And Congress passed the Voting Rights Act and reauthorized the Voting Rights Act. You know what the vote was when George W. Bush passed the first Voting Rights Act in 2006? 96 to zilch. 96 zilch, folks.
And so sometimes, and I was telling you when we was talking about the voting rights, I was saying I think this strike down, and I hate it for the southern states. I hate it for everybody, really.
But it's been right for everybody. It's not. It's just going to spread to the Midwest and into the West. Okay, it's going to spread. And what comes down in the South, because most of Black people, 50% of African Americans live in the South.
Well, it's gonna hit us all.
It's going to hit us.
It's
It's
gonna
going to
hit
hit us all.
everybody.
Everybody. It starts in the South because 50% of people live in the South. Well, it could go up north like Claire
Yeah,
Thomas.
but the bottom line is that the Voting Rights Act under John Lewis, they wanted to, like Ellie said, to basically get that out the way and say, well, we're going to start the Voting Rights Act now, here and now. But they missed that opportunity. Now here's another opportunity because we got to just fight harder and we want something new.
I mean, we have to, for the 21st century, we need
This
to have
is
a Voting Rights Act, and that means that if we're going to have Section 5 as a big order again, instead of having just Southern states, have all states be pre-clearance, so whatever, so they vote. All states have to be on the pre-clearance.
But the Constitution wasn't written for.
The Constitution was never meant for Black folks. And then the Civil Rights of 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments was actually used against us.
No, that's they just turned it up on his head and reversed it. Because at one time, you know, even if John Robertson wanted to sit there and diddle daddle for 40 years, hell, if you had property, if you wasn't a property owner, look at all the people that don't own property here. Shit, they could have took it down on that note alone.
Yeah, and here's the thing, what gets worse about it. They do not want certain people to be property owners in the first place. They want they're only white males to be property. They don't want Black people having property
You know,
or Latinos to have property.
you know what's really scary? This is what's really scary. Uh, in a household, a two household, you got the man and the woman, but then in that household, he would kind of control that vote, and they didn't want women to really be voices be heard.
And like, for example, in 1958, women were not even allowed to have a credit card without the husband's permission. That's what they're trying to go back to. Women not having no autonomy at all. And starting with that abortion bill when you got rid of Roe versus Wade, and then they're going after that another bill. They're going after compensation. The Griswold decision next.
Whose decision?
The Griswold decision.
And what that
The
what?
Griswold decision was about compensation for access
Mhm.
for women's health. They're going after that. Yes, white women. This is for you too. They're gonna go after the 19th Amendment, which used to be Anthony fought for women to vote. That was white women to vote. That Black women did not get the right to vote till 1965.
Well, you know what? Now it's time for everybody to step up. Like Ellie Mustal said, you can change that gerrymandering part. You can change all that, but you
And,
have to come out
and you're gonna have to go like what Victor Arbon did, vote in droves, so it makes it really harder to rig, like they did in Hungary when they got rid of Victor Arbon. We're gonna have to do a Victor Arbon type of election to defeat this type of gerrymandering. And that means every election, not just this year, but in every election going forward.
Well, basically what they want to do was just like uh claim fraud, to say, and they never, prove for us fraud in voting, but now this
The,
time.
the real fraud is here's what they're really saying when they're saying fraud. You and this Black skin vote for the wrong party. If you're Black, if you vote Democrat, that's voter fraud itself. If you're Black, and if you don't vote Republican or vote against my policy, then that's fraudulent.
you know
That's the real message of fraud.
but it shouldn't be the Supreme Court taking, choosing for us, the people who we need to vote for not giving us representation, you know, that shouldn't be a Supreme Court decision.
And then what Neil Gorsuch and Clarence Thomas wrote in their concurrence said that black people don't have no right to have no entitlement to representation.
I'm just glad that they showed their ass that they was racist because that's what it's been about all the time. You can holler Epstein, you can holler the war, you can holler all those things, but the bottom line is it has been what?
It really just shows you that these are some racist nationalists.
Hmm. Racist nationalists, okay? And so the bottom line for us is that like we just have to show up, show out in droves, and not just us, not black, beige, brown, beige, LGBTQ plus. I mean, this is white, because they used to say, if it ain't white, it ain't right. Well, you know what? White, you got to show up too. You got to
Because
show up,
they're
right?
coming after because they're coming after you too, and it started with Roe versus Wade, and they're going after what they call the 19th Amendment. And there is even conservative women that even said, and I quote, and this is horrible, folks, that they're willing to give up their right to vote to make it a more conservative country.
See that they can keep that handmaid's tale shit over there because ain't nobody
That's the same
do that.
thing as those 2 million blacks that voted for Trump.
See, my thing. You remember when I put that video out and I talked about uh who was it, Justice Roberts, and what had happened, because all of them compromised. And then him and his wife they didn't even put out their $20 million, 'cause Clarence Thomas been over there with who? Um,
With Harold Crow, the billionaire sugar daddy named Harold Crow.
yeah, and Harlan. It's Harlan Crow.
Harlan Crow. Yeah, Harlan Crow.
Harlan Crow. And so, um, and then he comes back, and then his scandals start coming out, and then they meet with DJT, and then all of a sudden they come back with this decision, you know. But the decision is this: Gen Z, he's lost a lot of his base, and he's down. I mean, down in the polls, and so like,
And so what they're trying to do is they're just going to just rig it to the point where they don't when they lose when they when they make it harder to lose. And what happens when it's harder to lose in a democracy? That means the only way. And I was listening to Texas Paul. In a democracy is about making change in a peaceful, non-violent way.
so
And if we lose our democracy, the only way to affect change, and when I was listening to Texas Paul, is to kill each other. Because that's
no,
what
ain't nobody who Texas.
that's the judgment. It's yeah. It's like
No, Texas Paul's out his mind. Who gonna kill? I ain't trying to. You done lost. No, I don't
that's
know.
the judgment is peacefully trying to change. If we don't, we're in another civil war.
No, we don't. That's totally out. You know, I don't know who the hell Texas Paul is, but that ain't no
And he's a
solution for
liberal
me.
too.
I don't care. I ain't trying to listen to my boy, and I don't know what you over there doing.
Yeah.
You.
That's what he was saying, but
Yeah,
if
I
you
don't
listen
care
to the whole
what.
context,
Yeah, but that is just out. Okay.
that was the one when he
And
said
there.
in a democracy. In a
Well,
democracy, we try. It's how you win. It's not what about win. It's how you lose. If you lose peacefully, the democracy is strong.
Mhm.
If we lose and they refuse to lose, then it's going to lead to problems.
Well, I can understand what you're saying. It wasn't peaceful January the 6th, and they tried to make it like it was what?
They're trying to make it was another day, but there was a day of love. It was no day of love when you had 25 cops that died on January 6th.
So when the Voting Rights Act was struck down this weekend, Section 2 was a crucial tool that allowed challenges to voting laws and maps that had discriminatory effects on voters of colors. A Supreme Court decision in 2026 ruled that creating majority minority districts to help minority voters elect their candidates of choice was unconstitutional, which significantly weakened Section 2, which means that we don't really have the right to what?
We don't really have the right to vote and have our own districts. What they're really saying is, if you cause the problem, you could use race to solve. You could call. you could use race to cause the problem, like racial profiling with Kavanaugh's case when it came to immigration. But when you have it like race conscious to solve the problem, it's unconstitutional.
So,
So
we know that they're not race what?
they're not. There is no such thing as race neutral.
Right.
It's a big lie.
Okay, the decision reinterpreted Section 2 so that it no longer generally prohibits voting rules with disparate impacts uh, on protected groups, emphasizing that states can justify restriction by citing concerns like election fraud, even without evidence. So they can say that
Election fraud is that here's what the true election fraud. Black men that vote Democrat against a Republican, that's election fraud right there. Your vote don't count. And if you don't vote for us, and if you don't vote for our policies, we don't care about you. And we're gonna steamroll you.
well, that's it in a nutshell. And then, without Section 2's protection, voter loses a key safeguard against racial gerrymandering and voter dilution. So,
It is pollution and dilution. And he pollute. And when Justice Alito's also opinion, when he said we're not getting rid of Section 2, we're just updating it. So now instead of proving it before on impact and on then you have to do on intent, which is harder to get these guys on intent. They can't just you guys have to be really out there to trigger a Section 2 case, which is impossible to prove.
you know what? When we were fighting uh, on your case, and
We have documentation.
yeah, and that's a lot. That's what a lot of people don't do. They don't
They
document.
don't, and a lot of people do not document or even pay attention.
Hmm.
And that's what they're counting on in the first place.
And that's what all these Senate hearings about, because this they will not be allowed to erase. If they're trying to take it out, then over on the other side they will have information and documentation and facts to say that this is what happened. And if you shredded some up in your golden toilet stew, we got it over here because this is why
They withhold the evidence, and you can't get the evidence to prove it.
right.
So
So
it's also another rig right there.
so when they said if it's intentional, basically when you're trying to, what did Dr.
My doctor, Dr. William Posey, that was the KU Medical, was one of the top head psychologists, neuropsychologist, that is, the brain, top dog at KU Medical Center, said that anything is intentional behavior unless proven otherwise.
And the only way you can prove it
And
is
the only way you can prove intentional behavior is if you document it, which is impossible to do in Section 2 of Alito's logic.
Mhm. And so they just turned that upside down. Now here she said, this shift undermines decades of bipartisan efforts to protect minority voting rights, making it harder to challenge laws that disadvantage voters based on race. Okay, so
The gaslighting is just unreal.
it is. And the bottom line on this is that we're not going to give up. And we just got to turn up. We got to turn it up full blast. And we got to have leaders out here that's
And that means, and what it also means is the progressive movement in the left needs to clean house first. That means it is more important at this point because of Section 5 being gone that we've got to get strong leaders to get to get stronger leaders. That means Chuckles and Akeem Jeffries out, and that's even more important than ever. And corporate Democrats
it's
out.
that money, that dark money.
Dark money. That means we need to get dark money, Israeli first Democrats out of the Democratic Party.
And see, Gen Z has stepped up tremendously because they're seeing that number one, GOP Republicans
GOP
and
is the grand
MAGA,
old. The GOP is the grand old pedophile party. That's what it is.
well, they don't govern. They don't have no policies.
They do have policies. Tax cuts for the rich. Start forever wars in the Middle East. So they do have policies.
But it works against
And cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. So they do have policies. It's policies against us.
And now we're fighting the gas war. So
And our gas war, like for instance, when we went to the gas station, when we came back walking, for instance, our gas was $52.44 in gas. This is a monster too that we got right here.
It's the most I ever paid filling it up
The
was
most
like
we ever
was
paid
30 bucks.
was $30.
You're right.
This is this is what happened. This is the war. What the war to rock has gotten us to. $52.44 at the gas. Look at this monster right
Yeah.
there.
And the thing is that when they made this decision, they have been chipping and chipping and
They've been
chipping
chipping
away
away. They've been
for
chipping away.
many years.
And this started back in 2013. Holder in Shelby County versus Holder, the Brinovich case, which made it harder to do powers, the Brinovich case, and now this. They've been chipping away, chipping away, chipping away for years.
And to be honest, I hate to tell you, but I every time that we go to file any type of paper for disability, any type of
You
paper
have to
that
prove it.
I mean,
You have to really
it's
prove
so
it. And
much.
even if you could prove it,
And even if you were in the workplace, and even like Lawrence O'Donnell had
and you're
said,
not going to be in the workplace longer either, because here's why this Section 2 is much, much worse than Roger Taney. When we had the first Civil Rights Bill of 1964, 1965, you had access even to entry jobs. You would discriminate against for entry jobs because you were black. But at least you had access to entry jobs. Entry jobs is being destroyed by AI technology and humanoids. In 2027, we're going to be seeing 50,000 robots. What is it going to do to African Americans and Latinos?
well, they can't blame it on the alcohol. That's for damn sure.
What is it going
But
to
they
do
sure
with the
can.
civil?
They
This is
can
going to
blame it
add.
on tech bros. They can blame. This is all tech bros shit.
This is
We
all.
don't give credit where credit is due, and who's tearing it up too, because they want their world.
And here's what Silicon's motto is: break things, move fast, and break things. That is the Silicon Valley ethos.
Yeah, they didn't know how to fix it because when it was time to fix it and give these people their money, they haven't fixed it where these folks have gotten their money. I don't even think EG and Carol got our money yet, has she?
She's never because they never. She's never going to get her money. She's never going to see that money.
Well, I don't know, but you know, my boy, what's his name? His friend that's in the hospital now.
Rudy Giuliani
Yeah, because Don had on his show, he had everything that my boy touches, it dies.
and Rudy Giuliani is in critical condition, and I have no respect for Rudy Giuliani. I have no empathy for a guy that was his policy against black people even then. No,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I ain't no empathy for that.
Rudy is sick right now.
And here's the thing.
And we ain't trying to wish no bad juju on my boy, because you know that.
I would when they died, like it was like Jesse Helms when he died in North Carolina. I was popping the cork.
Not,
When Batman died like that and racist like that, you should be popping the cork.
you know. Well, they did with what's her name?
I was doing the Margaret Thatcher dance, but when if DJT dies and Rudy Giuliani dies, I'm gonna do like with the Margaret Thatcher and celebrate with my sparkling apple cider or sparkling water, and I am gonna pop that cork. I ain't gonna be ashamed of it.
Well, we know how you feel. That's just going out there and tell it like But it's two sides to that telling thing, and that's something that
And that's what we do with the unique ability thing. But here's the thing: but there are people that use their unique ability for evil. And what's even worse, like Zuckerberg and all these guys,
See, he has frontal lobe dementia, and see
and
they
when
don't want to come out. Well, they've been saying it. They've been pointing to that. But this is what I don't like. The Supreme Court know that this man was unfit. And this is the most, I feel, this is the most abused person that I ever seen in my life. I've seen people get used, but not like this. Damn, I mean, you get wear and tear on the carpet, but this is absolutely horrible because everybody had the agenda and they knew that,
the Heritage Foundation,
they just, we just got to tell him a few nice things and he'll give us, what
and
we
that's what
want.
happens when you don't have an ideological cure. The people that have the ideology will use the person with no ideology and just do anything. That's what happens when you don't have when you don't have a core.
But they see, they see that, another mass shooting that came up, and people looking at that like, damn, was the first mass shooting. But let's go back to the Supreme Court. That's where I want to go back to. The Supreme Court has made the most horriblest decision.
This is even worse than Dred Scott. This is on the top of the line of Plessy versus Ferguson, and this is the line of Dred Scott. This is how bad. This is Roger Downey and William Howard Taft, because William Howard Taft was pro-business.
Well,
And John Roberts is Roger Downey combined with William Howard Taft.
so uh, now it's the fight is on, and like Ellie and Joy and
And
John and
all the
I
also
Dip,
Gwen
uh,
and also Gwen
Reese
Chambers and
Waters
Louise.
and my girl on the other side, you know, you know,
Yeah.
maybe
Tap,
Tabitha
speak
Smith.
Tabitha, speak
I
Tabitha.
know Tabitha's like, girl, you can't be
Uh,
playing
I know, man.
Tabitha.
I can't forget Tabitha speaks. I mean, the fight is going to be really on. But if you're a black professional, do you want to even? You have to have the conversation. Do you want to even live in a place that's taking away your rights? Do
Well,
you even want to live? And if you're also a very conscious black, do you want to go to Florida? Do you want to go to Louisiana? After what they did to your
well,
rights, I don't think so.
we may not want to go there, but we gotta fix them too, one for all. But if I love to hear Tabitha say 92%, 92%.
92% of people that voted, but we didn't. And here's what happens:
We,
black people need to vote in higher numbers, because we vote under those high 70, 80%, bad things happen. If we vote 60% or under, like Augustus Corbett was talking about, it led to Ronald Reagan. 60% and under, it led to George W. Bush. It led to Donald Trump. So we need to be voting at least at the 70 to 80% level, at high levels, or bad things are going to happen to us.
Mhm. But whites got to step up and do their share too. They got to step
And,
it up
and they need to, and
because they got to understand that this is going to affect them.
it's going to affect them too. It's going to affect their privilege. You can only have your privilege in law. Your
And I
privilege
think,
card is going to run out.
and I think they're waking up. There's cracks and MAGA's dead. Marjorie Taylor Greene is out there,
And it was
and
Marjorie Taylor
I
Greene said that MAGA may be, and I think MAGA may be dead because the founder of MAGA may kill it. But I think that what evolves into MAGA is something worse than MAGA. Remember when Barack Obama was elected president in 2008? What came out of it was the Tea Party. And
yeah.
what evolved from the Tea Party, it came from the Tea Party to MAGA with Donald Trump.
Well,
Okay?
whatever.
And what evolves in MAGA is going to be way worse.
It could be way worse, but we have to be ready to combat that worseness. That's what we just got to step it up, get out here and vote. You
And
know,
not only vote, but you gotta have that means for Democrats, we need to be voting for Democratic candidates, anti-corporate, anti-corporate Democrats. That means Schumer out the door, Hakeem Jeffries out the door,
well, we gotta have a strong coalition, and
out
we're
that door.
basically saying that these are just our feelings. Uh, and we need everybody, but we need everybody to be on the same
We
page in the book at the same time. And so, what has happened? Let's go back to what Ellie Masal said. He said, "We got to what? Got to what?
we gotta fight.
We got to fight, and we got to break. Those maps can be changed if
If those maps can change, if the people and mess up their math, if we can show up and vote in higher numbers,
because we're not trying to be
like what Florida just did.
not Florida, the countries that had these dictators like who? Victor Orban.
Victor Orban Hungary.
But you know,
Brazil had a dictator. They learned from their dictatorship in Brazil. They got rid of Bolsonaro.
oh, your allergies coming
Yeah,
on.
my allergies.
Okay, but since your allergies coming on, we're gonna get out of here because that pollen's in the air, and you did good
And here's the
until
thing.
you got to the crazy dude who's like, oh no, we ain't trying to do that.
But like like your hard Bolsonaro in Brazil,
Mhm.
or only in I use the tissue.
Mhm.
and Jahari Bolsonaro in Brazil, Victor Orban in
Okay.
Hungary.
But all I'm saying is here in the United States of America, we need to take those justices out. And I'm not talking about uh, threatening their lives. I mean, they need to,
They need to be they need to be disbarred.
because they need to. That's the.
They
I
need
think
to be
that's
disbarred.
the lower end.
First, we need to start with the lower end, which is that we need to disbar them, and the next thing we need to do is we need to arrest them, and we need to charge them for treason.
Well, the thing about it is accountability across the board. If the Democrats is coming in this time, it's gotta be major accountability. It can't be like, okay, we resting on the
And when the
laurels,
Democrat and
because what did he say? They got too complicit. They got comfortable with their checks, and they did what? They didn't handle their business. They did not. You know, they left too much on the table, and that's why we here today. But since we here today, we gotta fight, and we gotta.
and by some miracle that we get the House and we get the Senate and we get the presidency with the right type of president, and we're not talking about Galvin Newsom or any corporate Democrat. What we have to do is that we need to expand the court. That's the first thing, and we have to get rid of the filibuster. That's the first order of business.
Well, the first order of business, we're gonna have to close it out because your allergies are cutting up, and we did good, you know. And we'll go back and we're gonna give a special shout out and give much love to Joy Reid because she has given a lot through the years. Her and Ellie and everybody that was on MSNBC, and they're still kicking it up, not just for us. And the bottom line on this is that we got some real truth tellers on the independent side, and that's where we're
That's where
at.
it's going to have to be is the independent media.
Yeah.
Because without the independent media, we are in big trouble. We already see the corporate bot of CNN being destroyed. Look at Barry Weiss and CBS being destroyed.
Well, that last statement, and I know the lady that had that last interview with Donald DJT, uh, that just was all the way messed up because it's like she sit there and blame the Democrats for what?
Dana Bash
Yeah.
blaming the Democrats, and she blamed the Democrats for their rhetoric being up and everything,
Yeah.
which is not true. Which is
Well, see, that lets you know that captures the moment of what they're gonna do to the station, and their stats are going down. And see, I didn't ever think that Dana Bash would come out there, but hey, people have to do what they do on their job, and
and when you
on that one, Dana.
that just really shows you that I just chose my job over my principles.
Mhm. So
Anybody that and anybody that chooses money or chooses their job over their principles, they're not to be respected, and they forfeit their right to even be called a human being at this point.
So, and we're gonna give a special shout out to Raphael Warnick because you know we know the truth tellers, we know the fighters, we
We know
know
who the
we know
fighters
who's
are.
standing up, who's standing up, stepping out. And I just absolutely adore Adam Mockler because that Gen Z is bringing it, and he tore Scott Jennings ass up, okay.
Again,
and
but he deserves it. And
and
Scott
I
Jennings,
would love to see Adam Mockler go up there and tear the Supreme Court up because they couldn't stand that ass whooping. But that young man is bringing it. A lot of the Gen Z is bringing it, and they're gonna have to because they're gonna have to fight from this moment on, moving forward. And basically, I know this decision got everybody's upside down on his head, but this is about change. Change is mandatory, change is growth. This is about a reason and purpose for one's existence. And now we got plenty of reason, we got plenty of purpose in front of us. And that word down south,
Ray John Detra.
raison d'etre, the reason and the purpose for your existence. Let's go. Let's bring it on. And we can do that. And so on that note,
And on
we're gonna tell all our truth teller friends on the independent truth telling side that hey, keep your head up, like Tupac say. Get your fight song on, and Ellie Mustafa, let's go. Joy Reid, let's go. Don Lemons, let's go. Uh, Midas Touch Network, let's go. Brian Tyler Combs, let's go.
Reese Waters, Tabitha Speaks, and other black content creators, liberal black content creators. Let's go, because are we're not just in the fight of our lives. We're fighting for survival at this point.
And a wonderful thing about this fight, I get the opportunity to once again in this moment in time to live part two of this fight out, uh, because you don't want to just make a living and don't have a life. So in this day,
And pretty soon, you're not going to be able to make a living at this point. So once that the automation is
we
gone,
got to get some hope here, brother. We got to, we
and
got
once
to,
that's
we got.
gone, so you're going to have to really build. You're going to have to build your own hope out the system. That's the way it's going to have to be.
The bottom line is, it is time for a change, and this Constitution is,
We need a
if
new.
they, this is their past shit. Now we got to move forward.
We need a new. We need
You
a
know,
new Voting Rights Act and new
if
Constitution.
Roberts worked 40 years to get his dream and chip away at what we never had, then it's time for us to rebuild. Okay? It's time for us to rebuild. He can have his old shit. He can live in Handmaid's Tale, but it's time for us to rebuild. Okay? And that's what we're gonna have to do. And this, I may not get the opportunity to be here in this moment in time. I'm in this moment in time now,
Yeah, right
but
and now, but I
I'm
may
just
not get
saying, you know, it's gonna be a fight.
50. It's going to be a 50 to 100 year fight, to be
Well,
honest.
I'm not gonna compute those years because everything has turned on its head and it can flip again. And so far, you know, uh, it's it's think tank time. We got to sit down and think about what we want, and we don't want the status quo no more.
The status
That's
quo is
out.
that's dead,
That's dead.
and that means neoliberalism, corporatism, and neoliberalism is dead and gone. Incrementalism is dead and gone forever. That's what we're gonna have to say. Third way Democrats, get out of here. You're
And
out.
we're pulling for our independent media. We're pulling for our truth tellers. No, that's what we're pulling for. And so we're happy, um, because I know everybody say it's a gloom day, it's a dark day, but I got another video coming up,
Well,
and
we're gonna be we're gonna be talking about we're gonna be talking about our voting rights and what you can do, like automate with and the tech bros and automation and the
well,
world to
the good news is
and
that
mental health.
it's
And we're gonna be talking more about the mental health wise what you can do in your balance in your life more than that later,
well,
as of right now.
it's kind of nice to know who the enemy is, and
Well, first we got to
they
talk about
saying it out loud in our face, and
the
so
enemy is the Supreme Court, and the enemy is also to Clarence Thomas, Byron Donalds, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds. You got to know who your enemies are.
okay, and the bottom line is they can walk around in their black robes all they want to, but they have no respect,
No, and
no
what they
respect.
did and what they did in the Supreme Court is what the Ku Klux Klan did in 100 years.
They are the Ku Klux
And
Klan. They just
they
got on
actually
a
are the
different
new.
outfit,
They just got a new outfit.
So on that note, before you get
And
any worse with that sneezing and all that pollen and everything floating around, we're gonna be out of here. And what would you like to say on the last one?
I would like to say for the last of the Voting Rights Act that this is going to. I expected this was going to happen. This was John Roberts' MO for the 40 years. So at this point, you're going to have to find out what your purpose is going to be.
Well, you
What your,
know what? This is a pattern.
this is a
And
pattern.
I want people to pay attention to this pattern. Sometimes when people get everything they want, they think they got everything, and then they're out. I remember when Whitney Houston put out that song.
I look to you.
No, I didn't know my own
Yeah, I
strength.
didn't know my own strength.
And when you don't know your own strength, you crash the set. But just like they think this is their strength and they think they got everything they want, they're gonna be out.
They're going to be out.
So
So
on that note,
we are
we're
out.
out.